This is how I use Airbnb to live for free for a year. Stay tuned. Hey everyone, my name is Sean Ray and I'm a local real estate agent and investor here in Dallas, Texas. And today I'm going to be walking you through my first ever deal and property that I bought for real estate investing. They named this the Smurf House because when I bought this house, we decided to paint it a dark and white blue, but somehow the renovations turned out with it being like this Crayola light blue. It looks like a Smurf house. I don't know, but anyways, it kind of stuck. But I decided to buy this house because I kept on helping a bunch of real estate investors buy into a bunch of different real estate homes in Dallas, and their average profits were like $100 a month, which I wasn't super excited about, but the idea of growing wealth through real estate investing was really jiving me up because I really don't do well with bosses or long-term jobs. And so the idea of buying enough properties that one day I can quit my job and then I can just travel for free full-time and just use the rents to live off of made me really excited. But then I found that I also wanted to have a house that I can party at, and I was spending a bunch of money on rent back in my apartments. I was living in a high-rise. I was spending like $1,700 a month for rent. So I was throwing away this rent, but I also want to do real estate investing. So I was figuring like, how could I do both? So why don't I buy a property that I could live in and party at, and then at the same time I could rent it out and then make some extra money. And so this is how the Smurf House came to be. This is how this deal made the most sense. And I recommend this for anybody and everybody that ever wants to get started in real estate or real estate investing. House hacking mixed with this Airbnb and BRRRR method, which I can talk about in another video, is I think the most powerful thing that anybody can do to get out of real estate or out of renting and get into real estate investing. So let's break down the numbers. Pro tip, it is very important that you guys listen to this. If you are self-employed, if you're not W-2, then you need to know that you got to be careful about how much you write off every single year. Because I was told when I first got started, I went from like basically homeless to making over 6 figures in my first year in real estate, and they said write everything off. Write your pencil off, write breathing off. You blink, you can write off blinking. Like write everything off. And that's not necessarily false, but if you're trying to get into real estate investing, you're trying to get a loan, then they need to show on paper that you can afford the loan. And if you write everything off, they're not going to approve you. And so if this is a route you want to go, then make sure to at least show that you're making $50,000 to $70,000 a year to get approved for a good loan as a self-employed person. So here are the numbers how this makes sense. So the Smurf House I bought in this area town called Oak Cliff, and in Dallas it's been growing for a long time for prices. And the reason why is that this area of Oak Cliff called Bishop Arts is just growing like crazy right now. So many new restaurants and bars and like music scene, and then like a really cool Austin-y kind of vibe, like an artistic kind of vibe. But it's been growing slowly. It started off in just a tiny little area, and it's expanded. And so I saw this house, which is pretty much already renovated. It still needs some love, but it had a lot of renovations already done. And I saw it for $225, and I just knew that I had to put it very, like lipstick on the pig is what they called it. And so I knew that for long term, this could easily be a $350,000, $450,000 house whenever the time came, and then all the area grew and grew in value. And so bought the house. I did a FHA loan, 3.5%. And so this is not something I'd recommend for most people. I don't know, my lender talked me into it at the time. I currently have an awesome lender. At the time I didn't have a very investor friendly lender. And he told me that FHA was the way to go, but it wasn't. You can get much better deals if you do the conventional loan. But I did the 3.5% down FHA loan. And then also I had to pay 2% for the closing costs. Most buyers had to pay the closing costs of 2%, but I negotiated into the contract that they were going to pay $1,500 of it, and so I was able to get $1,500 off of my closing costs. And so also I had to pay for $1,500 for furniture, and so I already had furniture, and my roommate already had furniture. And so we didn't have to really invest that much into getting stuff. So we only invested like $1,500 in decorations and furniture and stuff like that. But the big whammy was the $35,000 that I had to spend in renovations. So I did like $10,000 or $15,000 or so on the inside and the painting, the exterior, and like all the fun stuff on the outside to make it look nice. But the rest of it was all the backyard. Like I invested a lot in the backyard. The backyard was kind of trash, and then I put in all sorts of new stuff to make it really party friendly. That way, when I wanted to live in a place that I can have big old parties at, and then throw 100-person, 150-person parties, and still be able to make everyone like a large stage for dancing and music and stuff like that. So I put that kind of money into it. So $35,000 for that. So overall, that is where I'm at as far as the cost. But you have to factor in that I also got my 3% commission, and so I'm a real estate agent. So that's kind of like that's not going to work for everybody, but for me, I got that 3%. So after you factor in that 3% commission, then overall my out on the property, when you combine all of that, the cost to get into the property is $40,625. And so that would be the initial investment to get the house, to get it renovated, to do all the things I needed, to get it furnished, everything. It was just over $40,000. Now, the monthly, you have to factor in not only just what you put in to get the house, but also how much you have to pay monthly. And so monthly I pay like just under $2,000. It was like $1,990 or something like that, or like $1,900 a month. And which the actual number is right here, but $1,990 a month, so just under $2,000. And the way that breaks down is not only the mortgage, but you have to factor in like the electric bill, the gas, the water, how much it costs. Like a lot of people don't factor this in, but how much it costs just to rent. Like I have to have extra trash bins and recycle bins. And everything from mowing the lawn or having a security system here, all these things, once you factor this all in, you're just right under $2,000. And so that is how much it costs to get in and how much it costs to hold it every single month. So right now it sounds pretty nasty, right? Well, let's talk about how much money I made from being in here, month to month and overall since I bought it, the first overall year that I had the property. All right, so I also had to factor in what I made as well. And so I was, at the time when I bought this house, I was living at a high rise, and I was living in like a 500 square foot floor to ceiling window box. Like I couldn't even fit my clothes in there. Like the closet was like this big. And I was paying like $1,700 something a month for that. And so me moving into this house and then renting out one room for $900 a month, all bills paid, to my super hippie yoga instructor. Like I love this girl. She's a super cool chick that she lived here for a while. And in the other room is only occupied like 50% of the time on Airbnb, but I was able to still pull in like $1,200 a month. So between the $900 and the $1,200, then I was able to bring in $2,100 a month on just living here. And so if I just had under $2,000 for my costs, and then I'm making around $2,100 a month, then I'm able to live here for free, and then also get paid an extra $100 or $150, $110, whatever a month, just to live here. Like I didn't live here for free; I got paid to live here for a year. Like I thought that was super cool. Like I was all jazzed up about it, told all my friends. But then if you factor in all the costs that I would have been spending on that $1,700 unit, then the numbers get ridiculous. Let's just say, for instance, an average one bedroom in this area in Dallas goes like from $1,200 to like $1,600 per month for a one bedroom. So let's just say it's like $1,400. So if you do 14 times 12, then that's $16,800 like for the entire year. And so my cost of living here, potentially it was more, but let's just say for instance it was $16,800. So you have to factor in the fact that I was getting paid to live here, and I also saved myself just under $17,000 a year. And that's not it though. There also, after I spent the $35,000 on this $225,000 home, overall it was like $260,000. But it got reappraised for $279,000. And so now I just gained myself this $19,000 in equity. And so add that to the mix as well. So when you add all this together, I was not only living here for free, like the title of the video says, but I got paid significantly amount more just to sit in here and party and hang with my friends. So let's really break down that and then go over what you're traditionally looking at whenever you're looking at investment property, like a ROI, and then also explain what a COC is. This is a cash on cash return. And I really care most about cash on cash returns, but let's do both, that way you can compare this to like traditional investments. All right, so here's the final breakdown. So when you factor in the cost of the house, which is like $225, plus all the other things that go into it, like the renovation costs, the closing costs, the cost to furnish it, and then you subtract my commission, then you're left with the overall cost, like the net cost of the house is like $257,750. And so like that's the overall cost that I spent on this house, but not me personally, because I only put in like my cash. And so, but overall, that's how much the house cost. Now, when you factor in the amount of money that you're making per month on top of all the costs, like the $1,990 a month that I have to pay, and then the amount of money that I'm making, the $2,100 a month. So once you factor that in, and then once you factor in the savings that I could be spending on an apartment lease, plus you factor in the equity savings, then overall what I made in that first year is around, I think it's $37,120. And so when you factor in those two numbers, that leaves you with an ROI of 14%. So to do 14% ROI on your first ever real estate transaction deal, and you got to live there for free for a year, and you got to throw parties, I think that's a pretty sick deal. I would recommend it. I think that if everyone did this, they'll be able to get out of their apartment lease, get into investing. Because once I did this, then the lenders started seeing me as a lot more reliable source to lend to. The second house I got, they gave me a lot more money. And now I'm able to invest as much as I want whenever I want, as long as I'm willing to put the down payment. That's the hard part. But let's talk about cash on cash return, because I think a lot of people don't talk about this. And this is something that if you're going to get into real estate investing, especially if you're trying to get into house hacking, or if you're trying to get into the BRRRR method, or if you're trying to get into anything into real estate and really focus on the numbers, you want to talk about the velocity of your money. And so whenever you put your velocity of your money into the market, you want it to just go as fast as possible. So instead of me paying cash of $260,000 in this house, I want to put in as little money as possible, because then that allows me to keep all the money that I've saved to invest in other deals as well. So the cash on cash is, I ended up putting out of my pocket, with all the renovations and down payments and stuff like that, I ended up putting in like $40,625. That's like what it costs for me to get into the house out of my own pocket. But with that being said, in the first year I made that $37,000 at $37,120. And so in my first year, I almost made 100% return on my investment of my actual personal investment. I think it comes out to like 91% cash on cash return. So if you go online, if you guys don't know what that means, make sure to research ROI versus cash on cash, COC, ROI versus COC, and that's what you really need to focus on. And in this case, it was a 91%. And so the next deal that I did was much sexier than this, which you talk to in the future, and some of my real estate clients were able to take some of the renovation costs up into a renovation loan and have the sellers pay for stuff. It gets crazy, but we're gonna worry about that in the future. This is the first rough, beat myself in the head, learning all the things I need to learn to make sure that you didn't have to go through the same headaches that I did. Hopefully you guys learned something from this video. Hopefully this brings some value in your life, and I would love to know if you guys decide to do this because of one of my videos, because my passion is to retire you. I have already got to the point to where I can retire, but if through these videos I can retire one person and just get another person to join me on Bora Bora or whatever it is, we can just sit and drink Mai Tais and you say, I remember the first video I watched was that video about you and your first real estate investment, and that got me into it. That would be everything for me. All right, guys, thank you so much. Make sure to like and subscribe. Comment below any questions you have, any comments. If I missed anything, if I should cover something next time, give me a heads up. This is a family. We're trying to grow something here, so I'm all open to your opinions and your advice. All right, guys, thank you so much.
And we're rolling.
That's how I should start off, like, press subscribe.